Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Wednesday. I hope the week is going well wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. Halfway through it now, of course, heading towards that game against West Ham at the Emirates on Saturday. Big game. That one could be even bigger depending on what happens tonight. Obviously, Aston Villa versus Liverpool at Villa Park in the Premier League. Got Manchester City's trip to Real Madrid tonight as well in the Champions League. So lots of football to keep us entertained a little bit later on for Arsenal. It is very much feet up. Well, not feet up. It's very much training as always at London Colney. Mikel Arteta's press conference is going to be on Friday ahead of that game against West Ham. That has now been confirmed. 1 p.m. start time for that. So we're going to look ahead to that in today's show. We're going to talk about Takehiro Tomiyasu, who we've had an injury update on him and is going to miss the rest of the season. He's done it himself. He posted a picture of himself on crutches revealing he's had an operation. We're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about a little bit about Arsenal's financial results that have just been announced literally just before I press record on this. Not going to focus on it too much because accountancy, I can barely keep my head above water myself, let alone looking at a multi-million pound business. And there are far better people who will be able to explain and analyze Arsenal's financial results, and they will in the next couple of days. I'm looking at Swiss Ramble. The AST will certainly do their own analysis as well. So I'll go over the headlines from it. I won't try and sort of deep dive into it because, quite frankly, I'll make a complete mess of it. So, yeah, we will talk about that as well, though. And I've got lots and lots of reaction to you guys, especially on the what do you do when Bukayo Saka comes back fit, and what do you do with Ethan? And loads of really interesting stuff from you guys as well. So I'm going to share that at the end of the show. But we'll start on Takehiro Tomiyasu. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see right now the picture that he posted up on his social medias yesterday of him in a knee brace on crutches, revealing he has now had surgery. He said, "I've had surgery on my knee a few days ago, and I've already started my rehab to do what I love the most again. It's been the toughest period in my career for sure, and it carries on a bit more, but I won't give up. Thank you for your support and see you again." So, yeah, that's from Tomiyasu himself. I do believe at the time of recording this, it is coming up to 10:30 on Wednesday. I do understand that Arsenal will be putting out an update or a statement on Tomiyasu a little bit later on today. By the time you're watching this or listening to this, they may well have already done it. But I do understand that something is coming from Arsenal on Tomiyasu. Obviously, look, his season's done. He's not playing again this season. This is, I don't know, and from conversations I've had, I've still not fully been explained what this injury is in terms of if it's cruciate or whatever it is. But I do understand it is a serious injury. It's just been described as complex. And I also understand that this is probably going to run into next season as well. It's a long-term rehab process now from this operation for Tomiyasu. It's an injury that's been plaguing him all season. Of course, he's only had one appearance. And I think at this point it's been decided, okay, we've got to try and do something else here. What's we've been trying to do isn't working, or what we were initially told to do isn't been working. We're going to have to go down another route. And the club and Tomiyasu and medical bigwigs have come together and decided we need to do an operation here to try and sort it out once and for all. And it's as I've said, it's apparently it's complex, and it is long term. And from what I understand, it's going to run into next season. So I don't think it's a case of having this operation now. He'll be back for pre-season, kind of like maybe Kai Havertz or someone like that. There's a good potential that this is going to run into next season. So Tomiyasu won't be fit for the start of next season as well, which is obviously a massive blow. I mean, it's certainly, a lot of people have been saying, "Oh, just sell him." I mean, that's obviously not going to happen because he's not even going to be fit for the summer transfer window. So the club aren't going to be able to sell him, the same as Gabriel Jesus. So it's a massive blow for him. It's just, huge. He's still young. So the hope is if you do this now, it's not going to be, there's still plenty of career left for Takehiro Tomiyasu. It's not like he's 32, 33 having to have this. But, as he says there, the thing that he loves doing the most, he's not been able to do it for like a year now. Or by the time he comes back, it'll be for a year, potentially, which is just massive. And sort of mentally, it's really difficult to cope with. He has been around. I think he might be back in Japan. I don't know for sure. I haven't had it confirmed. He has been around the stadium every so often, but he's definitely been back to Japan just to get some headspace and everything like that. And it's going to be a real sort of complex rehab now process for Takehiro Tomiyasu. So it's sad to see, sad to hear, but we're not going to see him again this season. And there's a good possibility that we're not going to see him fit for the start of next season either. So that's the latest on Takehiro Tomiyasu. Okay, so as I said, the financial results for the end of year May 2024 have now been announced, and it was literally announced just as I was about to start this show. I've tried to get my head around some of them. The sort of headline is Arsenal have made a loss. And again, this is why I'm waiting to see like Swiss Ramble's analysis or the AST's analysis, because just from looking at it, you're like, how on earth have Arsenal made a loss this year? Because some of the headlines here, revenue has gone up to 616 million from 466. That's like 150 million up in terms of revenue from 2023. Included in that, match day revenue's gone up from 102 million to 131 million. Broadcast revenue's gone up to 262 million from 191 million. Commercial revenues have gone up 218 from 169. Player trading profits gone up from 52 to from 12. So all of those have added to a record revenue of 616.6 million. That's up from 46.7 million. But the club have made a loss of 17.7 million. That's much improved on 2023 when the loss was 52.1 million. So the loss has come down, but still it is a loss of 17.7 million. Wages are a massive factor in that. Wages have gone up to 327.8 million from 234.8. That's sort of factored in men's wages, women's wages at the club. So yeah, 327.8 million from 234. Big reason for that. You'll see there was a big sort of summer influx in terms of in 2023, because these are the year from 23 to 24. Champions League football, of course, which is fantastic, and that brings in plenty of other revenue, but it also makes the wage bill skyrocket because of Champions League bonuses and everything like that. So yeah, the full details that you can read or the Arsenal's sort of statement and analysis, or very brief analysis, is on the club website. But as I said, I would wait in the next couple of days. Swiss Ramble will definitely do his in-depth analysis on this, and I'll be able to pour over the results and tell us exactly where this sort of losses come from, what the main factors are. Obviously, it's the wages are a huge factor in it, but there's other factors as well. And he's so good, Swiss Ramble, when it comes to analysing results. And so yeah, I would wait. If you want to find out more about it and really sort of try and get your head around it, I'd wait for his analysis. Or as I said, the AST, the Arsenal Sports Trust, they always tend to put out their own analysis as well. So there will be some stuff coming. But the headline is that Arsenal have made a loss. The loss is greatly reduced from what it was in 2023, but still it is a loss of 17.7 million. Okay, moving on, looking ahead to that West Ham game that I spoke about at the start of the show. As I said, Mikel's press conference is going to be on Friday for that, so we'll get the latest from him in terms of any sort of team news, injury news. We've seen some training pictures. Ben White continues to train. Could we see him make his return? Obviously, he was on the bench at the weekend, didn't come on at Leicester. Could he make his return this weekend against West Ham? You would think there's a good possibility of that. Probably not from the start, but we might well see him get half an hour or so, or 20 minutes against West Ham, which will be a big boost. We'll find out from Arteta what he's thinking maybe in terms of the central striker. There'll certainly be plenty of questions about Marino and whether it's a sort of viable option from the start this weekend. But from West Ham's point of view, big blow ahead of the game. Lucas Paqueta has suffered an injury in training, according to reports, and he is going to be out. He's hurt his ankle, and he is definitely going to be missing the Arsenal game. Seems like he could be missing a fair few weeks as well with that injury. So that's a blow for West Ham. Obviously, Paqueta, a very key player for them. I think he did actually miss the game last season at the Emirates when they won. Didn't he injure himself in the warm-up and maybe lasted about 15 minutes of the game and then had to go off? But he's going to miss the game completely this time around. So no Lucas Paqueta for West Ham. Right, I don't know if you've seen this yet, but the latest installment of the farcical TV show that is Michael Owen's Mic'd Up series with Howard Webb aired last night on Sky Sports. And of course, Mars Lewis Skelly against Wolves. We heard the audio of the incident and why Michael Oliver immediately, as the red card happens, you hear him say, I'm going with red card for that. And then he explains that he thinks it studs high above the ankle. And then the VAR look at it, and the VAR look at a few of the replays and just very quickly come to the conclusion that he's right. They say, it's above the ankle and it comes down. So yeah, check complete. Very, very quick for it. Obviously, that was a totally wrong decision, which has since been proved. The red card was overturned. Lewis Skelly was not banned from it. It was a majority vote of the Independent Regulatory Commission that all 3 people on the panel decided it should not have been a red card. So that incident was shown yesterday. We saw, as I said, we heard the VAR, and then it came back to the studio for Michael Owen with his little puff piece that he does with Howard Webb, which was frankly nauseating to listen to. But what Howard Webb said, so if you're watching YouTube, see some of the quotes. So he says, from the outset, we would prefer a yellow card in this situation. Clearly, the referee on the day felt he saw the player moving in towards an opponent without any ability or intention of playing the ball, with the intention of stopping the opponent. The referee felt it was serious foul play. The VAR checked the footage to see if the call was clear and obviously wrong, and he felt that it wasn't, seeing that the contact was quite high up on the leg. But we know for serious foul play, we need excessive force, brutality, and what we see here is high contact, glancing and coming off the leg quite quickly. I've heard this described as a really horrendous officiating decision. It's not. I understand why the referee saw this on the day in his serious foul play. Now, that last bit came from when Michael Owen, after Howard Webb initially said, look, it would have been a yellow card. I can see why he did it, but it should have been a yellow card. We accept that. And then it came back to Michael Owen's turn to speak. And honestly, it was the most clearly pre-planned little segue into what came next. And Michael Owen said, oh, lots of people, I think it's a yellow, but lots of people think it's a certain red, and he freeze frames it, showing the studs on the ankle, literally freeze frames it. They zoom in to show it. It was so nauseating to watch, of like, this is why Michael Oliver made the decision, blah, blah, blah. He's not entirely to blame. So I hate this show so much. You can probably tell. I hate it so much. It is the biggest load of PR rubbish that offers nothing, no insight, nothing. We hear the audio, we hear them getting it wrong, and then that's it. There's zero insight, and it winds me up. It really winds me up. But yeah, that was the latest installment of Mic'd Up. We did get to hear why Michael Oliver and the VAR came to the decision they did. And now, hopefully, that this audio is out and that this little show has been done. That is the last of that we get to hear of what was just a ridiculously farcical situation. Okay, let's move on a little bit now. As I said, lots of reaction to what we spoke about in yesterday's show when I was talking about what does Arteta do when Saka comes back. Ethan Nwaneri has been so good. How do you fit? How do you fit him, Odegaard, Saka, into the starting lineup together when Saka does come back? Hopefully, if Saka comes back after the international break. Lots of response from you guys, so thank you very much as always for that. Max has got in touch and says, I think your question about what happens to Nwaneri when Saka comes back is a mindset this club desperately needs to lose to stop these injuries. Nwaneri has already come to Odegaard and Saka's level, maybe just shy. Now we need to keep the 3 players in constant rotation to give each some rest. If they are healthy, none of the 3 players should start 3 straight games. Game 1, start Odegaard and Saka, bench Nwaneri. Game 2, start Odegaard and Nwaneri, bench Saka. Game 3, start Nwaneri and Saka, bench Odegaard. Then repeat over and over until there's an injury. Tyrone Martin says, Ethan is the Saka rotation we've been looking for. It's no question when he comes back. Also, Ethan doesn't have the same chemistry as Martin does with Saka. He's still 17. Let him ride the bench and use him as a super sub. Plenty more on this topic now. John says, hey, Charles, on Nwaneri, after Saka returns, I think we need to protect Saka a lot for the first few months. Basically, from when he returns through to the end of the season, I can see Saka and Nwaneri sharing the role, with Martinelli and Trossard sharing the other side. Then to give Odegaard a break, either Nwaneri or Trossard can come in for him. That means Saka and Martinelli start, Nwaneri and Trossard on the bench. Plan to bring both on for a double swap if Martinelli, Trossard and Odegaard are all uninjured with 30 minutes of the match remaining. But if injuries to either of those 3, we can be quite flexible with these subs. Buckleby returns, says Saka, Odegaard, Nwaneri are a perfect rotating first-team trio for 2 positions. Once they're all fit and firing, they give Arsenal the perfect opportunity to rest or select, depending on opposition impact, form, and fixture congestion. Aga as well says nothing to debate when Saka is back. You rotate both players. End of the day, Saka got injured because he's been playing non-stop for the past couple of years. In some games, Saka has been so ineffective, not because he's not good enough. He's probably just so tired from game time. So lots of you all saying the same thing, which I found very, very interesting. It wasn't a case of we've got to force all of these players into the side together. It's like we've actually finally now got that Saka sort of cover a competition we've been crying out for, and that allows us to rotate and not run players into the ground. I think you're absolutely right. I think there's definitely going to be games where you would like to try and get all three on the pitch at the same time. You know, quality sort of dictates that. And as people have said, Nwaneri already is at that level where it's like you want him on the pitch a lot. So I think there will be games where you have to try and get all three of them on the pitch together. There'll certainly be times in games, but you're right. You know, it's a great opportunity when they are all fit and available, where you can rotate, you can rest players. You don't have to play them game after game after game, and you've got three really high quality players who can kind of float around in those positions, and you can have two playing and one on the bench all the time. So you're all very, very correct in saying that. That Para's also got in touch to talk about it. He says, just with respect to Nwaneri breaking through to the extent he has, I think it's amazing that we finally have a player that can provide cover for both Saka and Odegaard. However, with respect to the three of them playing together at the same time, do you think Odegaard potentially transitions to a deeper role as he gets older? Thinking of Modric, who played deeper as he got older. Either way, Nwaneri is going to play plenty of games from now on. Yeah, the Odegaard thing's interesting. You know, you talk about Modric, obviously, but I mean, he transitioned to that deeper role when he was pretty, you know, he was into his 30s at that point. Odegaard's still very, very young. I don't think we need to really think about him transitioning to that deeper role. I also think, you know, Arsenal want to sign Martin Zubimendi. They're very much trying to sign Martin Zubimendi in the summer. If you get Zubimendi, look, Declan Rice is going to be starting next season. And so basically, you've only got one position there in that midfield. If Arteta is going to continue with the 4-3-3 that he plays, you know, if they go and get Zubimendi, if that deal happens, which Arsenal hope it will, you've got Zubimendi as a 6, obviously. Rice will play, and then Odegaard. There's no real option to move, certainly in the big games when you're sort of starting your first choice midfield. You're not really going to be dropping Odegaard into a deep role. I don't really see how that fits. I do think he's been playing noticeably deeper at times this season. Even when you look at, I know it came from a set piece, but you look at the goal Arsenal scored, the second goal Arsenal scored against Blackburn, how deep Odegaard was in the pitch to win that ball, get it, keep it, and then move the ball on to Calafiori. I've been seeing that more and more from him of late. So I think it's definitely a position that he may well begin to fall back into a little bit, especially if Nwaneri comes on and you can play him in that advanced role. But I just don't really see it if Zubimendi's there. Zubimendi does come in, you know, maybe if Zubimendi doesn't happen, which Arsenal hope it will, but if it doesn't happen and you move Rice in and he sort of transitions absolutely into the full-time 6, then maybe there is a chance there where you could play Odegaard slightly deeper behind Nwaneri at times. But we know that Arteta likes to have a more physical type of profile in that one of the 8 roles. And I don't know if, certainly right now when Nwaneri's this young, he would look at Odegaard and Nwaneri maybe in some games, but certainly not in the big games. I think he'd want a more sort of physical type profile in that. And I think if Zubimendi comes in, that'll probably be Declan Rice next season. But yeah, it's an interesting one, certainly in terms of how you do fit these players in. Nice option or nice headache for Arteta to have when he does finally have it, given the lack of options he's had in the attacking areas. So it will be a nice headache for him to have. And it's certainly a good position for Arsenal to be in when you've got quality players in attack like they do have when everyone is fit and available. And that's it from me today, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for listening. As always, I really do appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again as we really start to gear towards the weekend and that game against West Ham. I think myself and James will be sitting down tomorrow to record Inside Arsenal extra time as well in the afternoon. So keep your eyes peeled for that as well. Until then, have a great day. Enjoy your Wednesday, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.